Welcome to Around the Big Ten with Lucy Rodine, and you guessed it, I'm Lucy Rodine. Thanks so much for joining me. Now let's talk some Big Ten football. But before we get to my terrible jokes that I know you've missed so much over the past 2 weeks, we have to talk about the mess that's Maryland. The Maryland administration 100% did the right thing by firing head coach DJ Durkin. However, it should not have taken until November for this to happen. A player died under his watch. Maryland should be ashamed for putting wins and money before the safety of their players. I mean, the Maryland Board of Regents recommended he return, and they're surprised when everyone's pissed off about it, when players are walking out of Durkin's first team meeting back, when Jordan McNair's parents are publicly shaming the university? Are you kidding me? I am completely confused on how this happened in the first place and why it took so long for Maryland to do what was necessary. But good for you, Maryland, for doing the right thing several months too late. But while Maryland was having lapses in judgment that would make even Urban Meyer proud, there was still some football going on in the Big Ten. Since we last spoke, Iowa was looking like they had a shot to win the West, and now that's a hard no. Wisconsin looked bad, and that's still going strong. And Purdue beat Ohio State and then Iowa at home, but not Eastern Michigan earlier this season. And Illinois is actually not the worst team in the West for the first time in forever. That honor goes to our friends Nebraska and Minnesota, who are each rolling with one conference win. So that leaves Northwestern as the frontrunner in the Big Ten West. Yes, you heard me right. Northwestern is the frontrunner in the Big Ten West. The same Northwestern team that lost to Akron at home this year. So if that doesn't sum up the state of the Big Ten West this season, I don't know what else does. But at least in the East, we have Michigan, who is rolling in their khakis. They're clearly the favorite to win the conference this year, and hopefully will represent the Big Ten in the college football playoff. They've already faced Michigan State and Penn State this year, and the only real challenge they have left on their schedule is Ohio State, who almost lost to Nebraska last weekend. And once again, you heard me right. They almost lost to Nebraska in the Horseshoe. And that is just one reason why I'm a firm believer in karma, Urban. And I'm going to be honest, outside of Michigan and, well, kind of Northwestern, the Big Ten looks worse and worse every week. Penn State and Michigan State are not what we thought they'd be. Ohio State's struggling, and the West is home to Nebraska football. So that pretty much says it all. We certainly aren't going to see a battle for the Big Ten anytime soon, but we do have some battles for mediocrity coming up this weekend in the conference slate. Ohio State will head to East Lansing to take on Michigan State for a matchup between two of the most unethical football programs in the Big Ten. And I'd like to propose possibly a trophy for this game. Maybe the golden handcuffs or the battle for the bail bonds. Maybe just a thought. You should consider that, Jim Delaney. Illinois and Nebraska will meet up for the bottom feeder of the Big Ten versus the former bottom of the feeder of the Big Ten. Riveting. And Northwestern will have to travel to Iowa City to take on Iowa in a game that actually has potential to be pretty interesting. Northwestern is playing for a lot, and Iowa has nothing to lose. And for some reason, that's when Iowa does their best. Not when they need to, of course, but when they have nothing to lose. And I've spent countless nights losing sleep over this since I was a young, naive Iowa fan, and I still have no clue why this happens, and at this point, I don't want to know. And finally, last week, I had another week off to prepare for the return of college basketball. And boy, oh boy, do my Blue Devils look good. So I suggest you mentally prepare yourself for how I'm going to bring up Duke and Zion Williamson any chance I can get. But the point of this is that last week, I didn't get the chance to tell you guys that 2 weeks ago, I ended up staying in the same hotel as the Wisconsin football team. And Hornibrook was out against Northwestern and shared snaps at Rutgers over the past 2 weeks because he was just so rattled to see me because obviously he watched my last episode where I roasted him. So, am I the reason Wisconsin and Hornibrook they've struggled this season? I won't say yes, but I won't say no. But that's it from me on this episode of Lucy Roast the Big Ten. I'm sorry, Around the Big Ten. But come back next week for more slight jabs at Urban Meyer and to watch me publicly deal with my pain of the Big Ten being kind of crappy the best way I know how, with slightly below average jokes. Thanks so much for watching. I will see you next week.